you better make sure you don't miss any of those QuickTime events.
So why do we hate QuickTime events? Who says we hate QuickTime events?
Welcome into episode 25 of QuickTime Event, brought to you by Middle of Nowhere Gaming. I am your host, Courtney Osborne, and today I am joined by the one and only Adam Leonard.
It's a pleasure, Courtney.
Yeah, of course it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk about Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
Which is exactly what we're doing today. This is the Spoilercast for Game of Thrones, episode 3. No, not the show, the game, Telltale Games, Game of Thrones. So we are going to be talking all about the decisions made in this episode, all the big events and all that. So if you've not played it, don't listen to this because we were going to spoil everything. If you're never going to play it, then welcome in, listen to us blab on about it. And unfortunately this time we're not going to be joined by Jordan. He is in a all-out battle with his internet, so he doesn't have internet this week. He's out in the sticks, basically,
living in the dark ages.
Yeah, so he'll hopefully be back by the time episode 4 comes out and beyond that episode. But
well, I certainly hope he can find an internet provider in that much time.
Yeah, who knows when that episode will be out?
Yeah.
All right, so QuickTime Event, typically a very short podcast. Most of the time it's like a 15 to 20 minute podcast. The Spoilercast typically last a little bit longer than that because there's a lot to talk about in story-driven games like this. However, being that there are only 2 of us today, it may not go on as long as the last episode. So I'd expect anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, but we'll see how that goes. And this is your final warning to get out of here if you don't want to hear spoilers. That's it. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's go. So, the very beginning of the episode, you see the frickin' dragon.
Yep. Starting off hot, literally.
Okay, so, they advertised this episode with the picture of the dragon and everything, and we're like, oh man, we're finally going to get to see a dragon in this. This is going to be awesome. I did not expect it to be like within 5 freaking minutes of starting it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that ruined all anticipation I had for the dragon.
Yeah, it kind of felt like they were trying to have a real big, huge beginning to the whole chapter. And I mean, I think for that, it managed to accomplish that.
Yeah.
I was kind of dubious about the logic. That I like that you're being chased by whatever the group of mercenaries that are after you, and I like the fact that most of them didn't run away. They decided it was a good idea to attack the dragon.
Yeah, but there were definitely some that turned and ran.
There were definitely some that turned and ran, and I figured that was what all of them were going to do. But there was at least 5 of them that thought that they saw that dragon, and they're like, we could probably take that. And I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was like, I would have been gone, saved my life before anyone. Now in that first scene, you have you have an option to save Beska or however you pronounce her name. Or the guy who works for your family or whatever. Your uncle, that's who it is. Who did you save?
I did save Beska. I mean, there was a couple of reasons for that. I mean, first of all, I think as a character you are closer to her.
Yep.
I mean, your family kind of exiled you. Also there was kind of a little bit of a logic justification there because, it was kind of a tough decision. But from what I saw, my uncle just got stabbed in the leg as opposed to Beska was about to get burned by a dragon. And so I'm like, when I looked at these situations, which one I thought was probably more likely to be a deadly situation, I decided that Beska probably needed the immediate attention.
Yeah, that is exactly what I did too. When I looked it over and I quickly freaked out, but then I was like, you know what? A fucking dragon or an army? I would much rather save somebody from a dragon. That seems like the more serious of the 2 situations. And later on in the episode, you find out, or whenever you get accused, because obviously since we both chose the same one, you get accused by your uncle that you don't, either trust him or believe in him or whatever. You don't want to go back, and you put your faith in this girl and all that stuff. And one of your options is like, I fought many wars with you. I know you can handle yourself. She was facing a dragon. I was like, exactly. That's what I was thinking. So,
Well, and like as I started hearing some of that particular conversation you're talking about too, it kind of occurred to me how kind of like ludicrous and stupid the situation was. But your family like freaking like exiled you, like they kicked
Exactly.
you out of your homeland, sent you overseas, and then they show up one day and they're like, "Ha, you know about that? We were just kidding. Now it's time for you to put the family forward." It's like that doesn't add up.
and for however many years that he may have been with this girl, you know, like your family, your uncle doesn't know anything about what you've been through with her.
Right.
And he's like trying to make you feel bad for it. It's like, dude, you have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, it just kind of came off as like honestly a little bit of bullshit to me.
Yeah, for sure. Now moving on through another one of the situations is all the stuff that happens with Mira. I don't know about you, but I cannot stop fucking up everything she does.
I know. I keep on like flip flopping so badly. Like I'll try to pick one course of action, like because kind of getting into it at first. Like first of all, you're trying to placate like Cersei. At least I was,
Yeah.
and she at first look it was kind of works, but she's like, I know that she's like she's showing loyalty. You're showing loyalty to the crown, and then she drops the whole like Tyrion Lannister thing in front of us, saying like, oh well, she's been like conspiring with my brother, and it's like. And it's just like you cannot get a break as Mira. Like it feels like everything you do comes back to freaking haunt you.
Yeah, it shows you what King's Landing is like, you know?
Yeah.
It makes you feel exactly like what they must feel like there, that nobody is going to be on your side.
Right.
It's so bad. Every situation you get faced with her, like I honestly have no idea what to do. I'm like, I need to side with Tyrion Lannister. That's awesome. He could help out my family. Then Marjorie makes you feel like shit for it. And I'm like, but Marjorie, I've been trying to help you and you just keep saying bad things to me. What am I supposed to do? And then so like you get faced with a situation where you could go with Tyrion or not.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, after being lectured by Marjorie, I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to stay with Marjorie. Maybe she can help me. Maybe that'll work out.
Okay.
Of course, that didn't work out. Like, then Tyrion gets arrested because of the fucking Joffrey getting killed.
So now I'm curious because I think our paths divulge here because I actually went with Tyrion.
You went with
what
him.
happened?
Okay, so when I chose not to, and he kind of was just like, okay, well, just so you know, our business or whatever, blah, 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 the decree, the royal decree is on my desk and I will have Podrick deliver it to you later. And like, that's basically it. And then he walks away and then Marjorie grills your ass. She's just like, what royal decree? What family business? Like, what have you been doing? What have you been doing behind my back? She's like, do you know the trouble you are causing me? I was like, what am I doing wrong? So I told her the truth. I told her the Ironwood thing and she got pissed.
Mm-hmm. So the way I did it, it was funny because, like I said, this is what I'm talking about flip-flopping. Is that when I was talking to Marjorie earlier, I promised that I would stay away from Tyrion because I'm trying to kind of keep the peace here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that spectacularly fails. But it's like, then like Tyrion, instead of very bluntly comes up and goes like, "Hey, can I talk to you?"
Yeah.
And it was like a tough decision because Marjorie was playing political and going like, "Well, of course, if you need to speak to my person, you can."
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I guess I should talk to him then, if that's what she said. And so basically, I got a very similar scenario where then we actually talk, and he tells me that the decree's on his desk and all that, and then he proceeds to mention that to remind me that I owe him a favor, and that he that's basically good for him to have somebody connected to the queen.
Yeah.
And then when I get back, Marjorie is like really, really pissed and basically like bounces with Sarah to basically leaves me out of like the wedding preparation. She just says, I'll deal with you later. We're gonna go and get me ready.
The same thing happened on this end too.
Okay.
She ditches you also, but leaves you out of everything. And instead of Tyrion doing the whole owing a favor thing, he kind of says, he kind of references that, but he's like, maybe I'll get a dance from you at the wedding.
Okay.
Like that was kind of what he was referring to by the owing him a favor or whatever, and then just rolls out. But
Hmm.
yeah, they both end up in very, very similar situations, which then leads to us having to break into Tyrion's room. That happened on
Right.
your end, right, too?
Yep. You had to go get the decree back, and of course you had the conversation with the negotiator, right, about possibly coming up with some kind of deal for the Ironwood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was on it was not on the Forrester side. He was on the White Hill side, right?
Right, but when he finds out about the deal the deal that's been brokered, that he's might be willing to work with you
Instead, yeah.
Hmm.
But as soon as the Joffrey dies, he quickly realizes that that's not going to be able to work.
Which, to mention, like, it should to step back and mention for a moment, I think, like, while you could play this game without ever watching Game of Thrones, I think knowing the plot and, like, the background of what's going on concurrently with what you're doing in the game provides, like, an extra amount of enjoyment, because when you're at that wedding, you kind of know what you kind of know where things are going eventually.
Yeah, and I was wondering about that too when I was playing. I was like, how many people are playing this and have not seen the show, are watching this before they watch the show, or playing this before
Right.
they watch the show because they want to see what the show is like or whatever, before they invest all the time in it. And like they get to that scene and all you hear is screaming and arrest him, take him away.
Right.
And it's like you never get to see Joffrey die in the game, but you do in the show. So you kind of like have to just understand what just happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be really confusing to somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, and obviously, like, super spoiler filled too, considering the whole like game, like the whole like episode 1 began on like the Red Wedding. So
Yep. Two of the biggest scenes in the show so far have been in this, basically, but just from the outside.
So now to step for a second, you talked about how you felt there was nothing reliable in King's Landing. I will say that I have found my relationship with Sarah to be somewhat reliable. If there's anything I feel like I can kind of trust in, it's
God.
probably been her so far.
I do not feel that way about Sarah in my game.
Yeah.
I've probably fucked that relationship over. She does not trust me. I keep changing my story with her too. With her, with Marjorie, with Cersei, with Tyrion, everybody. I keep flip-flopping back and forth, and nobody trusts me. And it's just like I feel trapped when I play as Mira. I'm like, no, not again. So yeah, Sarah basically every time something happens, she she tries to make me feel really, really bad about it. And she's like, "Well, you remember what you did to me here?" And I'm like, "Fuck. Damn it, I ruined this." She's never going to help.
Okay, so now then, out of curiosity, because so she goes off and helps Marjorie, and then she comes back later in the wedding, and I don't know what happened for you, but she started telling me that, Marjorie's really upset. She started talking about possible replacements.
Yeah, she did that to me too.
Did she in the end offer though to help you? Because like that was kind of like because I'm wondering if because of the choices I've made, she kind of framed it as like, you've helped me a lot. Maybe now it's my time to help you here.
She did
smooth this whole thing over.
She did offer to help me in that situation, and she kind of worded it similar. But I think I've only actually helped her one time.
Okay.
And the other times I've kind of just left her out to dry. And so like it didn't really feel like she was sincere. It kind of just felt like it almost felt like she was going to backstab me eventually.
Okay.
Like that's kind of how the feeling I got from how she was saying everything. But, then again, I may be just looking into it too much because it is King's Landing.
Right. Well, you might not be, because basically everybody has a price there. So,
yes.
My well-placed trust might very well bite me in the ass later. I don't know.
Who knows? Now, did anything happen with Tom, who the dirty kid who keeps helping her out in King's Landing?
No, I'm trying to think exactly what all happened. So, when he originally approached me at the beginning of the episode, I did mention that I still had the knife, which oddly we never got back to. Just like I still have that knife. That was never like, it was mentioned, and it was mentioned that I should clean that thing off, but was never given opportunity to. I did not mention that a guard saw me, and that guard wound up finding me at the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mentioned that, and then that the situation where he found us happened also. So I don't
Okay,
even
so
think
that
I
doesn't-
had a knife.
You did okay because I took the knife at the end of the last chapter, so I think I actually have the bloody knife somewhere.
Oh God, that's probably. I don't know if that's good or bad for one of us. Which
Yeah,
that's gonna really pay off for one of us and not pay off for the other.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, he helps us break into Tyrion's room to
Right.
get the decree. Everything went fine there for me. Did you mess up anything there?
No, everything seemed to be fine. Did you destroy the decree or did you keep it?
Oh yeah, I kept it.
Yeah, me too. And I was surprised because Tom was all upset and was like, "At what point did we ever say we were breaking in to destroy the decree?" I was kind of confused about that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was so confused when he acted so upset about that because I never remembered anything about destroying it. Like
Right.
when you make the deal with the guy who's working for the White Hills, he's like, "Just get the decree and then we could talk." Like that's all he said, and so I never even once considered destroying it.
Right. That's the reason I was breaking in. I assumed was you needed to get that so you could try to broker the deal.
Exactly. So when it gave me that option, I was confused, and I was like, "Wait, why? No, I'm not going to destroy it. Like that's stupid." Like I don't know. It was a really weird decision.
Yeah, and like that's like if I were to ever level a bit of criticism at Telltale's games, there are definitely moments like that where like it maybe like the game maybe you just misunderstood, but maybe sometimes I feel like the game occasionally does there are moments that Telltale games do have kind of do a really hazy job of explaining the choices you're making.
Yeah.
And so there are moments in these games where you think you're making the obvious choice, or you think you're doing one thing, and then it'll whip around on you as if you were supposed to completely understand it a different way.
Yeah. Okay, so did you end up bowing down to what's his name? Griff? Did you submit to him or did you fight back?
That whole storyline is like the most depressing game I've played probably since like Heavy Rain, because it's just like a never-ending parade of crappy stuff happening to you over and over and over again.
Yep.
And you were absolutely powerless to do anything useful about it. It's interesting because I kind of flip-flopped here, because at first when the people like they just first show up and go like, "Hey, we're taking over your Great Hall," I stood up to him. I'm like, "No, this is not going to stand."
Yep, me too.
But then I took the meeting with Gwyn because
Yep.
I didn't really have any other options. And once again, like this is kind of interesting because some of the choices I'm making are almost because I kind of have like a godlike view of all the pieces, and like every time they keep on going like, "Oh well, don't worry, they're gonna bring like an army of cell swords from overseas," like I look at that particular part of the the scenario, and I realize how impossibly far away they are from accomplishing that goal.
Yep.
That as playing as Lord Roderick, then I'm just like that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm just going to disqualify that line of thought. But anyways, when I went to see Gwen, she kind of talked me the other direction because I, for the most part, trust that she has our best interest in mind. I think that the White Hills if they were trying to pull something, they have no talent and subtlety. So I think this is probably for real.
Yep.
And so she brought me around to her way of thinking that maybe that we really don't have the forces or the means necessary to stand up to them. So for now, we have to let them think that we're complacent.
Yep.
So I did. I did wind up in the end bowing to submitting to Griff to keep further harm from coming to my family.
It's interesting. You probably put that first part into words better than I could have, because that's the same way I was thinking about it. It was I knew that I was so far away from getting an army to come back, and then as Mira, I was fucking up so badly with getting money to be sent to help. Like I knew that those two were not succeeding as quickly as they needed to, and so I was like, I'm gonna take this into my own fucking hands, and I'm gonna stop this shit. And so like every chance I got, I was like, no, stop, I will make you pay, stop. And like there's this one moment where You get two choices. It's stop them or don't. And I click stop them. And so like you take a step forward and you're like, hey, stop, blah, 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 blah. And they basically just turn around and are like, shut up, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And you just kind of stop. And it's like, well, what? It didn't fucking matter what I clicked there because I wasn't going to do anything anyways. Right. And so like after that, and then having the meeting with what's her face you mentioned?
Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen Whitehill. After having that meeting, she convinced me as well. After a little bit of reluctance at the beginning of that conversation, I ended up saying, "Fine, I will submit." And then even after saying that, every chance I got, I was still like, "No, don't! I don't want to submit, damn it!" But I finally just got over it. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna submit every chance I get," and I started to. And then like when Griff has you on the ground or whatever, and he threatens to punish your sister instead of you, I was like, I honestly didn't know if I made the right decision there. I was like, oh shit, is he still gonna punish her? Like crap.
Right.
And then he ended up not, and he just kicked me a few times while I was on the ground. So.
And like how brutal was the whole scene where you had to like watch like those White Hill men like enact the slaughter of like your brother?
Oh god, that was horrible.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like a very hard section to play because it's just like you have like it feels like you have no good decisions and you're just very kind of powerless at the moment. So you just have to watch these like these tragedies of like biblical proportions fall upon your family.
Yep. Now and one of the most interesting scenes in this episode was where you're Asher and you finally find the leader of that army or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, you stole from me, you motherfucker. And he's like threatening you and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to take out your eye or your hand. You choose or whatever. And what did you end up choosing in that scene?
Because I could still to have two hands to fight. That was honestly my logic behind it.
That was exactly what I thought too. I was like, I'm not going to say fuck you or whatever. I'm going to just be like, take my fucking eye, like I will still take you down. And then he ends up pulling back and he's like, starts laughing at you and it was all a joke. And I was like, oh my God. Like I let out this huge exhale. I was like, oh, that ended a lot more peacefully than I thought it was going to. Oh, that was stressful.
And okay, there's something like there was another thing that kind of like it just struck me like minorly absurd, like logistic wise, that whole scene because like earlier on, like the whole thing is like you're trying to buy an army essentially, and they're like, well, how are we going to buy an army? And you're like, I don't know. And then you find like when you're back in that cave, you find a sack of gold, like a tiny little satchel of gold.
Yep.
I'm assuming you took that.
Yep.
And then like you give it to him, and apparently like one little bag of gold's enough to technically buy an army. Like because he's like, oh, that's enough gold, except for the fact that I'm working for Khaleesi, but I'm like, really, just like one little bag of gold will buy us an army at this point.
I'm assuming that he just meant that we were going to get to talk with Khaleesi because of the gold. Because he whenever I threw him the bag of gold, he was like, I'm going to keep this gold one way or another, but I will now I'll let you talk to Khaleesi about the army. Okay. And because of the dragon thing, because we knew where Dragon was or whatever. But and that was a kick-ass end too.
Right, real ominous.
Yeah, you finally get to see Khaleesi, and she kind of it was a really cool. I took a screenshot of that ending scene where she kind of just turns and looks at you. It's like, oh shit. Khaleesi's my favorite character from the series, the show. Okay. So like, I'm so glad that we finally get to see her. But not till next time, at least.
Yeah, next time they'll be brought out. And yeah, it definitely had some weight to it. Like, you better not be fucking with us here about these dragons, or else.
Now, that's pretty much most of the big things that happened during this episode. We'll talk a little bit about maybe what we expect to happen next episode. Do you have any ideas or thoughts?
I could tell you that definitely, like, I think probably the thing I'm most excited about, for me personally, is that I thought, and we didn't talk a whole lot about it. In fact, I don't think we really talked about it at all. But we didn't really talk about Garrett much.
Oh yeah.
There was like the whole wall portion, and I thought that kind of developed out really interestingly. Because, well, first of all, did you in the last episode, did you befriend Cotter, or did you befriend God, what's the other guy's name?
Finn.
I
believe I befriended both of them. I think I ended up telling on Cotter or whatever for stealing, but I ended up making up friends with him again this episode, and I also ended up making friends with Finn at the beginning of the episode, but by the end of the episode that was not how it ended.
Yeah, because I was friends with Cotter at the beginning because I saved him last time, and then I managed to make nice with Finn, but it kind of ended a little ambiguously. I think he thought that I was keeping stuff from him. And of course, he spots what exactly did you spare? Now, did you spare
the White Hill kid?
Yeah.
No, I fucking
killed him.
Yeah, I killed him.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to spare him. The first several dialogue choices I had with him, I was like, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to do anything. We're brothers. I trust you. Whatever. Leave me alone. And he just fucking kept coming at me. So I was like, fuck it. I'm taking his ass down. And so I killed him. And right when I killed him, Finn saw and ran away.
Yeah, it's funny because I made a promise to Jon Snow that I was not going to... I was not going to kill him or do anything like that, and so obviously you had to fight. You had to fight him, but I chose to let him live.
I thought about it. Wait. Oh, when you chose to let him live, what was your decision? Was it just leave him?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I did too, and he fell over. And
he fell over like the wall?
No, he just fell over like on his side or whatever, onto his stomach on the ground.
Right, that's what happened to. I assumed he was still alive at that point.
Oh, okay. So then maybe he is alive. I swore I killed him because I stabbed him. So
because I did too, but I chose to cut his arm. I think because there was a couple of times where you could choose where to wound him.
Yeah.
And I cut his arm, and so for me, it just seemed that logically he was beat up, but he was still alive, more essentially.
Yeah. I cut his arm the first time, but I stabbed him in the stomach the second time, which is why I assumed he was dead. Either way, Finn ran away and he was going to go tell on you and make sure you get in trouble for it because he doesn't trust you for some fucking reason.
Mm-hmm. But where that's headed, I think I'm kind of most excited about because you're going to head behind the wall, and I'm kind of interested to get a peek at some more of the. Potentially some more of the mystical elements of Game of Thrones, but that's something that's oft hint at in the series, but in like the books and the TV show, but you just don't see that much of it.
Yep.
And so that was kind of like the storyline that had me the most interested to see kind of developed out. I want to know what's beyond the wall, and the concept of like what you might have to go through out in the wilds is perhaps the most interesting and exciting thing going on right now for me.
Yep, I agree. I want to know what's going on with the Grove, the hidden forest within the forest. It took me totally by surprise that Cotter was a wildling.
Right.
So I was like, whoa, what the fuck? So I'm so excited to find out more about him and his situation with the North. And I'm assuming we're going to get to meet Mance Rayder before the whole slaughter fest that goes on. But that's a good situation I'm really looking forward to. Also, I'm hoping they tie in something with the I don't even know what they would be referred to. I don't remember. It's like during the last episode or two, season 4 of Game of Thrones, where Bran finally makes it up north, and they finally get to that cave where that kid is and stuff. I hope they tie that in somehow.
But yeah, I like that storyline string, and I do really like the stuff with Asher, simply because that's kind of the freewheeling adventure portion of the game, because you're off in some kind of foreign land, and there's big over-the-top action sequences. I always kind of, like we keep on hitting on, I always kind of dread going back to King's Landing, because it's just so friggin' tense. You're just you just feel like you're inevitably going to screw everything up no matter what you do, and so you almost get stressed whenever you have to head back there.
Yep.
And then heading back to the their actual lands, it's just one big kind of bummer because
depressing
it's
part,
shitty things happening to you.
Yep.
over and over and over again, and you just have to kind of sit there and take it. So definitely the wall and then Asher's portion are definitely kind of the stuff I'm most excited for, because they're the parts where you actually get to sit back and I think have the most amount of fun.
Yep, I agree. It's crazy. We're only halfway through the season.
Right.
This is only episode 3, so there's a lot left to do.
Yeah, there's going to definitely be some big revelations and probably some big changes that are going to come through before we're done here.
Now, are you? How soon are we going to see another family member die?
Oof, that's tough. I mean, I would. It'll definitely be interesting to see, but there are definitely some members who are vulnerable, to say the least.
Yep.
We still have the youngest Forester over at the White Hills Fortress, and so we'll have to see how that kind of plays out.
Mm-hmm. Ryan?
Yeah.
Is that his name? Wait, okay. Who do you think is the traitor? What I'm referring to, obviously, if somebody doesn't know, is the traitor in the Forester Council. Somebody's been leaking information to the White Hills. I have no idea who that could be. I immediately trusted his mother and told her about it, and I felt good about that decision, but at the same time, I was like, maybe I still should have kept it quiet to try and find out on my own. But I don't know. Like, that whole situation has me worried about who's been spying and who's been relaying information.
See, I kept it from the mother because part of me, in some kind of gut feeling, thinks it could be her.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that she might be trying to, on her own, broker.
Try to get her son out.
Try to get her son out and try to do what she thinks is going to keep her family alive.
Yeah.
And and I think maybe she is shrewd enough to think that submitting to the White Hills is the only immediate way to keep her family alive.
Yeah.
And so maybe she's the one who's doing that.
See, when I told her, she made me think that it wasn't her, because she was like, how could we ever submit to them? We must fight, like, we've made this decision, what more could they do to us? They've already done so much, and like, we do not want to back down. We cannot let them have this house. And I was like, okay, so that's why I felt confident in choosing to trust her. And I'm honestly of the opinion that it's one of the 2 people you were supposed to choose for your right-hand man.
Right, that's what I was just thinking, is maybe whoever you didn't pick to be to be your advisor.
Yeah, it's
going to turn out that they're the ones that betrayed you. Though I admittedly, I'd have a really hard time seeing Duncan as the traitor, though.
Me too, and that's where, because I chose him, and so it's like, I don't know if it could be Duncan, and then the other option I had was maybe the maester or whatever, the doctor guy.
That might be a logical choice there,
because he's kind of in it, but he's mostly not in many scenes, and he keeps to himself, and it's just like, maybe he's the one with the information. I don't know.
But it would definitely be interesting if they set it up in such a way that basically whoever you did not pick to be your advisor betrays you.
Yeah, so for different people it'll be different, a different betrayer. That'd be interesting. Oh man, we've only got to have to wait another month and a half or 2 months.
Thereabouts, depending.
Yeah, and that's if they tell us in the next episode or not.
Right.
We may not know till next fall.
Yeah, it very well might be something that plays out and doesn't play out until the very end.
All right, well, I think that's probably enough for this episode, this Spoilercast. So thank you for joining me, Adam.
Pleasure as always. Looking forward to doing it again.
Oh yeah, me too. I love Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so good.
Okay, so the schedule for our podcast: we record our Mong podcast on Tuesday, release it Tuesday, and then most of the time now we have Lou hosting QuickTime events, and he records them on Thursdays, and we'll have them up Thursdays or Fridays, so you could check out the emergency podcast they recorded last night. For all the Nintendo news that came out of the Nintendo Direct. So look up episode 24 if you want to find that. And if you have any questions you want us to read off on the podcast, or if any topics you want us to cover in QuickTime Event, you can email us at contact.mong@gmail.com. And then you can find us on Twitter at mong.com, all spelled out, MONGDOTCOM. And then on YouTube at youtube.com/users/Mong Network, or Mong Plays, which is where we upload all of our live streams and our Let's Plays. And then on Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram by just searching for Middle of Nowhere Gaming. And then, of course, the website is middleofnowheregaming.com, and that's where you can find all of our latest news, reviews, editorials, features, podcasts, video series. All that stuff goes up there. And then we're both on Twitter. I believe you're on Twitter, aren't you, Adam?
Yeah, I sure am.
Do you tweet very much?
I need to tweet more. I
was going to say.
I have it. I have it. I just need to use it more. I barely post on Facebook as is, so I need to become more media frontline, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you can find us on Twitter. You can find me at Osborne_2009, and you can find Adam at
Fanboy_Adam.
It's an easy one.
Yeah, real simple.
All right. Mong!
Mong!